Hi, this is Dr. Swapna and I welcome you to your Learn Lab. If you are an IGNOU student looking for help in your studies, then you have reached the right place. Here we have lecture videos on different core and elective subjects of important IGNOU courses. We aim to help you ace your exams. So hit subscribe to our channel, and as you watch, make sure to like and share too. Come and join me on this beautiful learning journey.
In our previous videos, we have seen how to compute descriptive statistics, which would be mean, median, mode, standard deviation, and variance using SPSS, and this we did in our last video. In this video, we'll move forward and see how to compute various parametric and non-parametric statistics using SPSS. Now, we have already studied what is parametric and non-parametric statistics. We have also discussed different statistical techniques that come under each of these categories. In case you haven't, I'll add the link to the playlist in the description. You can go back and watch the videos so that you will have a better idea of what we are talking about. Now, about SPSS software, we have already seen what an SPSS software is. We have studied out how to open a file in SPSS and how to enter your data. If this much is clear to you, we'll move forward. If not, I suggest you go back and watch that video from the playlist also. You would be able to find out the video easily from the playlist. So we are going to continue with the last unit of BPCC 108, that is unit 12, which is computation of parametric and non-parametric statistic using SPSS. What are we going to study today? We'll see how to compute correlation using SPSS. Then we'll see how to compute independent t-test using SPSS. We are going to see computation of one-way ANOVA using SPSS, then computation of chi-square using SPSS. We'll also see computation of Mann-Whitney U-test and computation of Kruskal Wallis ANOVA also using SPSS. Now, most of these tests we have already studied how to calculate them manually. Okay, so when you were calculating them manually, there was a limited number of observations or data that you got, because so that it's easy for you to calculate. But in real life, when you're doing research, you will have huge amount of data for which you won't be able to do it manually. It would be a very tedious process and also prone to mistakes. So in such cases, we use Excel or SPSS or any other software like that. So for that, it's necessary that we know how we can do all these calculations in different softwares. We have already studied how to do it in Excel. So we'll today see how to do it in SPSS. So first we'll see computation of correlation using SPSS. Now what do you mean by computation of correlation? This means we are going to calculate a specific number which is called correlation coefficient. And this number indicates the strength and direction of relationship between two variables that you are studying. Alright, so that's why it's called correlation. Now for that, first you have the sheet, and we already know how we have got the sheet, right? So I am not going to go into that details. I'm just hoping you will know about the sheet, okay? So you have to take the sheet, and to compute correlation, we'll first go to the main menu, analyze. See, this is the main menu bar. We have discussed this main menu bar in our previous video, and this is analyze here. So you have to click on analyze. When you click on analyze, you have this larger drop down, and they have lots of options in this drop down. You have to scroll down and choose correlate. All right. So once you choose correlate and click on this arrow here, you have another small drop down which has these four options, and among these you have to choose the top one, that is bivariate. All right. So sometimes in the exam, instead of asking to write about computation of correlation using SPSS, they can also ask to write about computation of bivariate correlation using SPSS. And either of these cases, don't get confused, because you have to write exactly the same thing, the same steps that we are discussing right now. So yeah, you have to click on bivariate, and when you click on bivariate, another dialog box opens, and this box is labeled bivariate correlations. You can see here bivariate correlations. All right, so this looks something like this. Okay, now exactly how we did for descriptive statistics, you have to drag the two continuous variables. See, what are continuous variables? These are the variables which will assume value within a range. Here our range is 0 to 100. right? So all our values have all our observations have values between 0 to 100. So that's why we call it a continuous variable. And what are the continuous variables we have here? Emotional intelligence and achievement motivation. So we have to drag both of these from the white space on the right side in the dialog box with the help of this arrow and move it to this box. So how do you do? Either you can just click here and then click on this arrow, it will automatically come here, or you can just use your mouse to drag this and drop it here. Either of the way, you can bring both these continuous variables to this left side. All right. Then below the dialog box, you can see correlations coefficient. Okay, this is correlation coefficient. See here, below the dialog box where you were dragging and dropping the variables, there is this option called correlation coefficient. Now you can choose whatever statistic you want to choose. You can choose either Pearson or Kendall-Stowe or Spearman. I have just chosen all the three, right, just to see how it comes. And then also below that, you see test of significance, where you have to choose whether you want a two-tailed test or a one-tailed test. We also have studied what is a two-tailed and one-tailed test, right? So you can choose as you want here. All right. Now, after this, you can go to options in the dialog box. See, so first we dragged and dropped the variables here. Then we chose the correlation coefficient. We chose the test of significance. Next, you have to go and click on this box, options. Okay. And as you click on this options, another box opens up. See, this is called bivariate correlation options. Okay. Now you can select any additional function you want to perform from here. Like I am choosing means and standard deviation. All right. So you can choose it here and click on continue. If you don't want to choose, it's perfectly all right. So then click continue. After you click continue, all the extra dialog boxes are gone. You have the initial dialog box, which is bivariate correlation. You have chosen everything, entered all the data, all the information. Now finally click OK. When you click OK, you are telling SPSS to execute this current analysis. All right. So when you click OK, the result will appear in the output view. Okay, you can see here, this is the result that I've got, correlations. Okay, I have already taught you what is output view, right? So once you have got these results, you can interpret it and use it in your research, getting to a conclusion or further analyze it as you wish. So this was all about computation of correlation using SPSS. Next, we have computation of independent t-test using SPSS. Now, what is an independent t-test? It's a statistical test used to determine if there is a significant difference between means or averages of two independent groups. Okay, this test is used to compare the average scores of continuous variables. And what are the continuous variables we have here? Emotional intelligence and achievement motivation, right? So this test is used to compare the average score of a continuous variable such as emotional intelligence between two unrelated groups. So we have males and females, two groups, right? So we want to compare the average score of emotional intelligence that males and females have scored separately. And for that, we'll use independent t-test. It's also called two sample t-test or unpaired t-test. All right, let's see how to calculate that now. So again, same step. First, go to the main menu, choose analyze. And when you choose analyze, you have this drop down here. And then scroll down and click on compare means and proportions. Here, see, compare means and proportions. When you click on this, you have another smaller drop down with all these options. Now find out independent samples t-test. See here, independent samples t-test. And you have to click on this. When you click on this, you have another dialog box that opens. This dialog box is also called independent t-test. All right. Now, this box also looks pretty familiar, like how we got in other tests also, right? So we'll see what to do here now. It's going to be same as we have done in other tests also. You have to drag the continuous variables in the white space in the right side under test variables. Okay, from here you have to drag the continuous variables. What are the continuous variables that we have? Emotional intelligence and achievement motivation. So either you click on it and then click on this arrow, it will automatically come here, or you click on this and drag and drop it here. And how many continuous variables do we have? Two. Which are these? Emotional intelligence and achievement motivation. Why are these continuous variables? Because they can have value within a given range, which is 0 to 100 in our case. Okay, so we have to drag and drop the test variables, which are going to be the continuous variable in this box. And then next we have to drag gender with the help of the arrow to this box grouping variable. Okay, so we said that we are going to study the emotional intelligence and achievement motivation in two groups, males and females. The average scores of emotional intelligence and average score of achievement motivation in males and females. So we have chosen gender and put it in the grouping variable. All right. Next, what we have to do is, once we have put in gender here, you have to click in define groups. So unless you put in gender here, this box will not be active. You will not be able to click this box. Once you put gender here, this becomes active. Now you can click on this tab called define groups. So when you click on define groups, you will have a smaller group. This is called group 1 and group 2, where you have to fill the group details. We know that the t-test is computed for two sample subgroups, right? For gender, we have two subgroups, males and females. So these groups have to be defined. For example, if we are taking the case of socioeconomic status, we know that we have three levels or three subgroups. Which are they? Low, medium and high. Now, if we want to compute t-test to study if a significant difference exists in low and medium social economic status groups, then we will have to define these groups as 1 and 2. Now, remember how we coded the data about socioeconomic status? You can refer to the data entry and coding video. There we have coded low as 1, medium as 2 and high as 3. Right? So, if we have to define groups, which are they? The low and medium, we'll use 1 and 2. Now, if we want to check significant difference between low and high, we'll define the groups as 1 and 3. Similarly, here in case of gender, we defined male as 1 and female as 2. So here in this group, we have to put 1 for male and 2 for females. See, I have already put it here. I have put 1 for male here and 2 for female here. Okay, if you have any doubts on this, you can just go back and watch the video on data entry and coding, where I have discussed this in detail, how we code the data. All right. And then once you have filled in 1 and 2, you have to click continue. And when you click on continue, the smaller box disappears and we have this initial box, which is independent samples t-test, where we have put in all the variables in its places and defined our variable also. Now finally click on OK. And when you click on OK, the result will be displayed in the output view of SPSS. See, output view. All the data that you want calculated about independent sample test, it is selected here. It is done here. Okay. See, it has calculated the one-sided test also, two-sided test also. There's mean difference, standard error, everything is calculated here. All right, so if you scroll down, you will have much more results. So when I was taking the screenshot, I've taken only what was like, what seemed like, easily understandable. So now since you have the results, you can then suitably tabulate your research report or paper and interpret it as per the needs of your research. So I hope you are getting the steps. So when you get a question for, writing about computation of independent t-test using SPSS, you just have to write the steps clearly. Maybe you can also mention what is an independent t-test. Generally, it comes for 5 marks only. It won't be a 10 marks question. All right. So let's move forward. Next, we have computation of one-way ANOVA using SPSS. Now, one-way ANOVA, this also we have studied very clearly, right? What is one-way ANOVA? We know that it is a parametric test. And what does it do? It checks whether there is a significant difference between means of two or more independent groups. Since it is a parametric test, The measure of central tendency is going to be mean. So we are going to check if there is a significant difference between means of two or more independent groups. That is one-way ANOVA. Let's see how we are going to compute one-way ANOVA using SPSS. So again, to compute one-way ANOVA, go to the main menu and click on Analyze. We have the Analyze button here, and when you click on that, we have this huge drop down, and in that again you have to choose compare means and proportions. We chose the same for independent t-test also, right? For one-way ANOVA also you have to choose compare means and proportions, and when you click on this you have a smaller drop down. From this you have to choose one-way ANOVA. See here, one-way ANOVA, and you have to click on one-way ANOVA. When you click on the one-way ANOVA option, you will have this dialog box open. Now this dialog box is also called one-way ANOVA. Okay. Now from here what you have to do is you have to drag the continuous variables. We know which are the continuous variables, right? Emotional intelligence and achievement motivation. And why are they continuous variable? Because they can assume values between a specified range. In our case it is 0 to 100, right? So that's why we call it as continuous variable. So what are we going to do? Drag the continuous variables in the white space here on the right under the dependent list, to the dependent list. Okay, so either click on it, drag and drop it, or click on it and use this arrow to migrate the variables from this list to this list. And then once we are done with the dependent list, next we have to add the factor, which is going to be gender. So we are going to drag and drop gender here. All right. And once we are done with putting in all the variables, next we have a smaller box called options here. We can click on this box called options, and then another smaller dialog box opens here, which is titled one-way ANOVA options. Now in this you can choose this option called descriptive. Okay, or if you are doing something else, if you want Welsh test, you can do that, or if you want homogeneity of variance test, you can choose that. I'm going to choose descriptive here. All right, so once you choose your statistic, you can click on continue. All right, when you click on continue, that smaller box disappear. You have this main box here now. Okay, everything is set. You can check all the details, then click on OK. When you are clicking on OK, you are telling SPSS that you are now ready to execute the current analysis. And what happens? You will have the result in the output view of SPSS. See here, this is the result that you have got. All the ANOVA, everything that is calculated between groups, within groups, total, right? I hope you remember the manual calculation that we did. We have used between groups also, then we have got within groups variance and then total variance, right? We had all those formulas. So here you don't have to manually calculate all of those. SPSS has already calculated all this for you. Now you can use this result and tabulate it as per your requirement and interpret as you want for your research. So this was how you had to compute one-way ANOVA using SPSS. Since it's more of a visual thing, I might be going a bit fast. I don't know. If you feel that way, please feel free to, pause the video and take a look at the window. I mean, window mean whatever screenshot that I'm putting here for SPSS. All right. So let's move forward. We have completed the computation of correlation using SPSS. We have done the computation of independent t-test using SPSS, and we have also seen how to compute one-way ANOVA using SPSS. Next, we are going to see how to compute chi-square using SPSS. Now, remember chi-square? We have studied the manual calculation, right? What is it? It's a statistical test used to analyze categorical data. What is the categorical data we have here? Gender and socioeconomic status, right? And then what are we going to analyze in these categorical data? We are going to determine if there is a significant difference between the observed and expected frequencies of these variables. All right. Remember, we had this table where we had calculated the observed frequency and then expected frequency and then found the ratios. Okay, so that we were doing manually. Here we are going to calculate chi-square using SPSS. So to compute chi-square, we'll go to the main menu, that is analyze, as usual, right? And then when you click on analyze, you have this huge drop down. Here you have to choose descriptive statistics. Okay, if you remember when we were discussing, when we were studying how to compute descriptive statistics using SPSS in one of our previous videos, we have been using analyze and then descriptive statistics, right? Here also we have to choose descriptive statistics, and then another drop down appears. From this drop down, you have to use crosstabs, right? We know what is crosstabs, right? It's a table which is going to help you find relationship between two variables. We have studied how to compute crosstabs using SPSS in our previous video. So here also, to calculate chi-square, you have to choose this option crosstabs and then click on it. Next, what you have to do is you have to drag the variable gender, which would be here, to this white space called row. And then after that, you have to drag the socio-economic status and put it here under this box called column. All right, either you can simply drag and drop or click on it and then click on these arrows. It will automatically migrate both your variables to these respective places. All right, so gender under row and socio-economic status under columns. After that, what you have to do is you have the smaller box here, which is called statistics, right? You have to click on this. So you have put all the variables in place. Now click on statistics. There would be another smaller dialog box that opens here. See, this is the smaller dialog box that opens when you click on statistics. In this dialog box, which is called crosstabs statistics, you need to tick or check on the chi-square. See here, I have ticked on chi-square here. And once I select chi-square, I have to click on continue. All right. When I click on continue, the smaller box closes. And then I have this main crosstabs dialog box. So now I have to click OK. I am done with giving all instructions. Now I am telling it that it can execute the current analysis and start calculating the chi-square. So after I click on OK, it will open the output view and give me the final result. See, it has calculated the chi-square for me, chi-square test statistics. All right. So this is how you compute chi-square using SPSS. Okay. So most of the steps are similar. It would be easy. It should be easy for you to remember the steps, but I would suggest if you can download the SPSS software and do it yourself once, you will easily remember this. Okay. So if you don't want to spend that kind of time, you can just write down the steps and remember them. So most of the steps are similar.
Thank you all
It
for
would be
learning with
changing
me.
again
If you
somewhere
found the
near
video
the middle
helpful,
only, right?
make sure you
And
let me
last
know
step is
by
also
hitting
the
the
same,
like
the result
button.
coming out in
Make sure you share
output
the
view.
video with your friends too.
Let's move forward.
Subscribe to make sure that you don't miss out on
Next, we
any of the
have
new
how to
videos.
compute
You can reach me by
Mann-Whitney
simply
U-test
dropping a comment.
using
See you in the next one. Till
SPSS.
then, happy learning.
Now, we have learned how to calculate Mann-Whitney U-test also manually, right? Do you remember what is Mann-Whitney U-test? So, is it parametric or non-parametric? It's a parametric test, right? And what is it used for? It's used to determine whether there is a significant difference between the distributions of two independent groups. Now, if you remember the measure of central tendency, you know that since this is a non-parametric test, the measure of central tendency being used would be median and not mean, because mean is used in parametric statistics, right? So here we are going to determine if there is a significant difference between the distribution, the median of two independent groups. That is Mann-Whitney U-test. Let's see how to calculate Mann-Whitney U-test using SPSS. So in order to compute Mann-Whitney U-test, go to the menu Analyze as usual, right? And then click on Non-Parametric test. We said that Mann-Whitney U-test is a non-parametric test, right? So in this drop down, find out non-parametric test and click on it. And when you click on it, you have the smaller drop down that appears. In this, you have to choose legacy dialogues. See here, when you click on legacy dialogues here, you have another drop down here. In here, you have to choose two independent samples. Remember, to calculate Mann-Whitney U-test, you have to choose two independent samples from legacy dialogues of non-parametric tests. All right. So when you click on two independent tests, you have this dialog box, which is also called two independent sample tests, which will open. Okay, looks familiar, the setup? You know what to do next, right? So drag the continuous variables. Which are the continuous variables? Emotional intelligence and achievement motivation. You drag them to this column, this box called test variables list. Okay, and then you're going to put drag gender and put it here under grouping variable. All right, so you have your test variable list here, which is going to be the continuous variable, and your grouping variable, which is going to be the categorical variable, which is gender here. Once you have put the gender, then you have to click on this option called define groups. All right, so when you click on this option called define groups, a smaller box opens which has these two blanks. Okay, so for that, now what we have to do is, we have already told how to define groups. We have coded these data, right? And how did we code it? One for males and two for females. Okay, so we are going to define group 1 as 1, denoting the code for males, and we'll define group 2 as 2, denoting the code for females. So I'll put 1 here and then 2 here. This stands for males and this stands for females. Once we are done with this, we have to click here continue, and when you click on continue, the smaller box disappears. All right, once we are done with defining the groups, next click on options. See, there is a options tab here on the side. When you click on this options, you will have another smaller dialog box that opens here. Okay, here you can click either on descriptives or quartiles as per your requirement. I'm going to click descriptive here. Okay, so I have chosen the descriptive statistics and I'm going to click continue. And when I click continue, this box will close. Right? So finally, I am done. I have put all my variables in its places. I have defined the variable. I have also told SPSS what exactly I want to calculate. Right? So now finally, what we have to click OK here. We have to click OK on this two independent sample test dialog box. All right. So we know what is going to happen when you click OK, right? The output view opens. See, the results are displayed in the output view of SPSS, and this is how you will see the result. You will see Mann-Whitney test as the heading, and you will have this table here. All right. So this is how you are going to compute Mann-Whitney U test. So only difference here, you have to choose analyze. Then what was next? Non-parametric test, and then legacy dialogues, and then what? What was the next? Two independent sample test, right? So yeah, you have to choose that, and then you get all of these. So with that, we complete Mann-Whitney U test also. Last, we have computation of Kruskal Wallis ANOVA. Again, Kruskal Wallis ANOVA also we have learned the manual calculation, right? What is Kruskal Wallis ANOVA? It is a non-parametric statistical test, and we use it to compare 3 or more independent groups. Till now we were dealing with 2 or more, right? Here we are going to deal with minimum 3 or more independent groups and see if there is a significant difference between them. Again, this being a non-parametric statistical test, we are going to calculate the median here. Okay, and if you remember, I have also told you that the Kruskal Wallis ANOVA is an extension of Mann-Whitney U test. All right, let's see how to compute that now. So yeah, in order to compute Kruskal Wallis ANOVA, go to analyze, same. And when you click on analyze, you have this big drop down. From here, exactly same as the previous one, you have to click on non-parametric statistic. In non-parametric statistic, you have to choose legacy dialog. And in legacy dialog, you have to choose k independent samples, right? For Mann-Whitney U test, you had chosen 2 independent samples. For Kruskal Wallis ANOVA, you have to choose k independent samples. Okay, so when you click on k independent samples, another drop down opens. Okay, see, this is the dialog box. This is called tests for several independent samples. Now again the box looks familiar, right? And by now you know what to do next. You are going to drag the continuous variables. Which are the continuous variables? Emotional intelligence and achievement motivation, right? And you are going to put it under test variable list. This is going to be the test variable. Till now we have been using gender for here, so here for a change I'm going to use socioeconomic status. Okay, so I'm going to drag socioeconomic status and drop it under grouping variable. So now I have my test variable and I have my grouping variable. What are we going to do next? We are going to define the range here. So again, to define the range, we know what is minimum and what is maximum, right? Our minimum was what? 1. That was for low. And then we had 2 for medium and 3 for high. So what is our minimum range? It is 1. And what is our maximum range? It is 3, right? So since we know the values now, we are going to put our values here. Our minimum is going to be 1 and our maximum is going to be 3 for high. This is for low and this is for high. If we had chosen gender here, what would it have been? For minimum, we would have put 1 and for maximum, we would have put 2 because we had only two subgroups here, one for male and two for females, right? And here we have 1 for low, 2 for medium and 3 for high. So our minimum is 1 and our maximum is 3. Once you put that values, you have to click continue here. All right. So now once you click continue, that other box, the range box disappears. Next, we have to click on this options, right? Why are we clicking on this option? So that we can choose the statistics, exactly like how we did for Mann-Whitney U test. Here also I'm choosing descriptive. All right. So see, I've chosen descriptive. Now I'm going to click continue. Okay. After I click continue, I am all set. I have my box here. I have defined all the variables, right? I have defined the range. I have also told SPSS exactly what to calculate. Now, what's the final step? Click on OK. So when I click OK, I'm going to tell SPSS what exactly it has to do. It can start calculating or executing. And then finally, the result is displayed in the output view. See here, Kruskal Wallis test. It has given me all the data that I need, right? So this is how we calculate Kruskal Wallis ANOVA using SPSS. With that, we have completed the last unit of BPCC 108. All right. So as usual, let's go and see the previous year questions from this topic. Here. So December 2024, which was the last TEE, we had this question. Write short notes on the following in about 150 words each, which is computation of independent t-test using SPSS. We know what it is, right? We have already completed it. So how we are going to attempt this? Write what is independent t-test and just write the steps for how you compute t-test in SPSS. All right. Then before that, December 2023, we had this question. Computation of one-way ANOVA using SPSS. This also we have completed, right? What is one-way ANOVA and write the steps for computation using SPSS. Then December 2022, see again steps in computation of independent t-test using SPSS. All right. December 2021, we had a longer question for 10 marks, wherein the question was discuss the procedure for computation of bivariate correlation using SPSS. See, bivariate correlation. Here you have to talk about what is bivariate correlation, what is correlation, right? And each step you have to discuss, like what we did and why we are doing it. All right, so this is a 10 marks question. So this was all the question from this particular topic that has ever come in any TE between December 2021 and December 2024. Again, no June questions from this topic, right? It's all December. So if you're a June person, you can either leave it, take the chance, or be prepared. What if it comes in next June, right? So that was all about 108.
Thank you all for learning with me. If you found the video helpful, make sure you let me know by hitting the like button. Make sure you share the video with your friends too. Subscribe to make sure that you don't miss out on any of the new videos. You can reach me by simply dropping a comment. See you in the next one. Till then, happy learning.